On paper, this fight looks like another perfectly built setup for Umar Nurmagomedov, the undefeated Dagestani prodigy who's been demolishing everyone in his path. He's a huge favorite, and honestly, that's understandable. But if you look closer, there's something quietly fascinating about this matchup that most people are sleeping on. Mario Bautista isn't just some warm body standing in front of Umar. The guy's been quietly putting together one of the longest active win streaks in the division outside of Davalishvili himself. He's been improving with every performance. Crisp boxing, clean mechanics, strong cardio, and a confidence that's hard to ignore. Bautista's one of those fighters who doesn't stand out in any single category, but shines in how complete his overall game is. Solid everywhere, durable, and big for the division. He's a massive bantamweight. Honestly, it looks more like a featherweight cutting down. He fills out 135 pounds like a monster. And that physicality matters when you're dealing with someone like Umar, who uses control and precision as weapons. But let's be real. Umar Nurmagomedov isn't your typical Dagestani wrestler. He's a new breed. He doesn't need to chain wrestle for 15 minutes to dominate. His distance management, timing, and kicking game are world-class. The guy's kicks are weapons on their own, fast, snappy, and unpredictable. 1 second he's flicking a teep to your body, and before you can even react, he's landed a spinning kick or darted out of range. He doesn't even look like he's forcing it. It's all rhythm and flow. That's what makes him terrifying. He's calm, surgical, and always 2 steps ahead. What makes this fight genuinely interesting is the potential.
On paper, this fight looks like another perfectly built setup for Umar Nurmagomedov, the undefeated Dagestani prodigy who's been demolishing everyone in his path. He's a huge favorite, and honestly, that's understandable. But if you look closer, there's something quietly fascinating about this matchup that most people are sleeping on. Mario Bautista isn't just some warm body standing in front of Umar. The guy's been quietly putting together one of the longest active win streaks in the division, outside of Davalishvili himself. He's been improving with every performance: crisp boxing, clean mechanics, strong cardio, and a confidence that's hard to ignore. Bautista's one of those fighters who doesn't stand out in any single category, but shines in how complete his overall game is. Solid everywhere, durable, and big for the division. He's a massive bantamweight. Honestly, looks more like a featherweight cutting down. He fills out 135 pounds like a monster, and that physicality matters when you're dealing with someone like Umar, who uses control and precision as weapons. But let's be real. Umar Nurmagomedov isn't your typical Dagestani wrestler. He's a new breed. He doesn't need to chain wrestle for 15 minutes to dominate. His distance management, timing, and kicking game are world-class. The guy's kicks are weapons on their own, fast, snappy, and unpredictable. 1 second he's flicking a teep to your body, and before you can even react, he's landed a spinning kick or darted out of range. He doesn't even look like he's forcing it. It's all rhythm and flow. That's what makes him terrifying. He's calm, surgical, and always 2 steps ahead. What makes this fight genuinely interesting is the potential for resistance. Bautista isn't the kind of fighter who folds under pressure. He's durable, tough, and gritty. He's got the kind of cardio that lets him push back, even when things get ugly. He won't get steamrolled like some UFC newcomers who crumble after 2 minutes with a high-level grappler. If he can make Umar work, even for a round or 2, we might finally see how deep Umar's gas tank and composure really go under extended resistance. This isn't so much a question of, can Mario win? It's more about how easy does Umar make it look. If Umar comes in and just toys with him, controls the distance, picks him apart, and shuts him down completely, that says a lot. That means he's mentally sharp again, confident, and ready to chase the belt. But if Bautista forces him into a grind, makes him adjust, or even steals around, that reveals a lot too, both about Mario's level and about Umar's growth since his last performance. And we can't ignore that Umar's fight against Davalishvili left a bit of a question mark in fans' minds. He broke his hand during that fight. We all know that. So that wasn't prime Umar. Still, Even with a busted hand, he went toe-to-toe with one of the most relentless pressure fighters in MMA. The man didn't break. That says something about his mental strength and durability. Now he's coming back healthy, focused, and ready to reassert dominance. And who's standing across from him? A hungry, confident Mario Bautista, who's on a streak and finally getting a massive opportunity. That dynamic makes it dangerous. Bautista's got nothing to lose here. He's the underdog, he's not carrying the weight of expectations, and he knows that even pushing Umar to a decision boosts his stock. Meanwhile, Umar's the one under all the pressure. Everyone expects perfection. And those are the fights where one misread or one lazy exchange can flip the entire script. Still, let's not kid ourselves. Umar's built differently. He's smoother, faster, sharper. His fight IQ is unreal. He doesn't brawl, he calculates. He sets traps, and when you finally react, it's already too late. He's not trying to just beat you, he's trying to make you look confused and desperate. Mario might land something early, maybe a clean right hand or a solid body shot that wakes the crowd up. But once Umar gets the rhythm, it's usually over. The pace shifts, the distance tightens, and suddenly Umar's dictating every exchange. That's when you see the difference between very good and elite. The kicks, the level changes, the footwork, the calmness, it all clicks into place. My early call? Umar by dominant decision, maybe 30-27 across the board. Bautista's tough enough to hang in there, but not enough to truly threaten. Still, this fight's going to tell us a lot about Umar Nurmagomedov right now, physically, mentally, and strategically. Because make no mistake, this isn't just another fight, it's a statement opportunity.
All right, let's really break this matchup down, because the details here are where everything gets interesting. Mario Bautista is not just a random name thrown into this fight. He's one of those guys who's been building momentum under the radar, fight by fight, with clean, fundamental skills. His boxing is sharp, his footwork is efficient. He's got that classic MMA rhythm, crisp 1-2s, fast combinations, and a natural sense of range when he's allowed to set the tempo. What separates Bautista from many others in this division is how he stays busy. He's not the type of fighter who waits for openings or just looks for one big counter. He's constantly active, throwing jabs, feints, leg kicks, mixing in body work, always forcing his opponent to think. When Bautista gets comfortable, he starts to look smooth. He'll go 1-2 up top, rip a right hand to the body, then circle out before you can even return fire. That kind of rhythm breaks opponents mentally. They start reacting instead of initiating. He doesn't have one-punch knockout power, but he drowns you in volume, accuracy, and tempo. And the guy's cardio? Legit. He can push that pace for 3 rounds without slowing down. That's one of the reasons people think he could give Umar Nurmagomedov some resistance. If anyone can test Umar's pacing and defensive awareness, it's someone like Bautista, someone who doesn't gas out, who keeps coming, who makes you earn every exchange. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Umar doesn't let you find your rhythm. Every opponent who's tried to get comfortable against him ends up looking hesitant, flat-footed, or frustrated. He destroys timing. His kicks, man, they're not just flashy, they're functional. He uses side kicks, question mark kicks, flicking teeps, all to manipulate distance and force hesitation. The second you think, okay, I've got him timed down, he's already switched stance, stepped off angle, or thrown something unorthodox. His striking is like a puzzle that constantly changes shape. You think you're solving it, but every round it looks different. Umar's not just a grappler, he's a disruptor. He'll fight in patterns that don't make sense to most fighters. He'll throw 3 kicks from long range, then suddenly shoot a perfectly timed takedown from an opposite stance. He's unpredictable by design, and that unpredictability makes fighters overthink. Once he gets the upper hand mentally, the rest comes naturally. Pressure, control, composure. And when Umar takes over, he doesn't rush. He's patient, almost too calm. He dictates every inch of the octagon, mixing feints, stance switches, and subtle level changes that keep you constantly guessing. To Bautista's credit, he's no easy guy to hold down. He's a strong scrambler with a solid base. Even if Umar gets him down, Mario's not just gonna lay there. He'll post up, explode to his feet, and try to create chaos on the break. That's where he's dangerous, those elbows and short punches and transitions. But Umar's chain wrestling is something else entirely. If the first takedown doesn't land, the second will. If the second doesn't work, the third one absolutely will. He doesn't stop until he gets the position he wants. It's not brute force, it's technique, efficiency, and timing. That's actually the biggest difference between these two, efficiency versus effort. Mario works hard for every exchange, while Umar works smart. Every step, every kick, every movement has intent. He doesn't waste motion, doesn't chase chaos. That's why he always looks composed. He's not reacting emotionally, he's executing a plan. So can Bautista win? Technically, yes, if Umar fights lazy, gets overconfident, or tries to coast. But if Umar stays sharp and disciplined, it's hard to imagine Mario finding consistent success. Maybe he lands a few clean shots early while Umar's gauging distance. Maybe he wins the first couple of exchanges. But once Umar downloads your timing, that's when things go downhill fast. He starts layering attacks, body kicks, double legs, cage control, pressure. Suddenly you're reacting instead of thinking. That's how he dismantles you. The longer the fight goes, the more it favors Umar. He builds data like a computer, making micro-adjustments with each exchange. By the midpoint of round 2, most fighters are already second-guessing themselves. They're hesitant, slower, trying to read a guy who never shows the same look twice. Bautista's best chance is to disrupt early. Don't let Umar settle, keep him guessing with feints and forward movement. But even then, the danger is that you walk straight into Umar's traps. He'll draw you in with range, then explode with a takedown or counter. So what's my call? Honestly, it's hard not to see Umar winning comfortably. Maybe Bautista steals around early with aggression and pressure, but once Umar starts feeling the timing and distance, this fight likely turns one way. I'm leaning toward a 30-27 decision, maybe even a 29-28 if Bautista does something special early on. Still, Umar's just too clean, too measured, too efficient. But this fight isn't just about technique, it's about meaning. For Umar Nurmagomedov, this is more than a regular matchup. It's a checkpoint, a chance to re-establish dominance and momentum. Remember, his stock dipped slightly after the Merab Dvalishvili fight, not because he looked bad, but because expectations for him are sky high. When you're that talented, even a competitive loss feels like a disappointment to fans. Now, fully healthy, he needs a statement win, not just to hold his ranking, but to remind everyone why he's one of the most technically perfect bantamweights on the planet. And for Mario Bautista, this fight is about legitimacy. It's the biggest stage of his career. He's been stacking wins, but none against someone like Umar. The division is deep, killers everywhere, so a strong showing here could completely change how people talk about him. He doesn't even need to win. If he makes Umar sweat, if he shows resilience, that alone boosts his stock. Nobody expects him to win. That's the freedom of being the underdog. You get to fight without pressure. This is the classic case of high risk versus high reward. For Umar, a win is expected, but anything less than dominance will be questioned. For Bautista, a loss is expected, but a gritty, competitive showing could redefine his reputation overnight.
Let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this fight really represents. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Bautista trading strikes and takedowns. This fight is a microcosm of where the bantamweight division is headed. The clash between two philosophies of fighting: pace versus precision, chaos versus control, volume versus efficiency. For Umar, this is a defining moment. His name already carries weight because of his last name, Nurmagomedov, but unlike Khabib, he doesn't rely solely on grappling dominance. He's evolved the Dagestani blueprint into something sharper, cleaner, more technical. He uses wrestling not as the base, but as a weapon within a much wider arsenal. His stand-up game is what sets him apart from every other wrestler coming out of that region. The way he blends kicks, distance management, and stance switches, it's modern, it's fluid, and it's calculated. If he comes out here and completely shuts down a streaking, well-rounded fighter like Bautista, that's not just another win. That's a message to the entire top 10. The new standard is control, not chaos. Because think about it.
The bantamweight division has long been ruled by movement-heavy, pace-oriented guys. Fighters like Merab Dvalishvili, Corey Sandhagen, Sean O'Malley, even Petr Yan at his best. They all rely on constant activity, high volume, and endless energy. They overwhelm opponents with pressure and cardio. But Umar represents something different. He's the counter to that meta. He's not trying to outwork you, he's trying to outsmart you. His game isn't about chaos, it's about clarity. Every strike, every step, every feint has intent. If he dominates here, it signals a shift in the division, from pace to precision. And that's what makes this matchup so intriguing. Mario Bautista is the perfect test subject for that theory. He's active, aggressive, and well-conditioned. He thrives in rhythm. He's at his best when he's flowing, when he can set the pace and keep his opponent on the defensive. But against Umar, that rhythm breaks. The second he starts feeling comfortable, Umar changes angles, changes stance, or shoots a takedown. It's like trying to dance with someone who keeps switching the music halfway through the song. You just can't keep up. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Umar's still developing. He hasn't even hit his physical prime yet. He's had a handful of UFC fights, and each time he's looked smoother, more confident, and more dangerous. You can literally see his evolution from fight to fight. His setups are cleaner, his transitions are faster, and his cage awareness is unreal. He doesn't chase finishes, he builds them. And that kind of patience is what separates elite fighters from everyone else. This matchup gives him a perfect platform to showcase that growth. Bautista is tough enough not to get finished easily, which means Umar gets cage time, time to display his creativity, to experiment, to chain sequences together. Maybe he'll mix in striking combinations that lead directly into takedown entries. Maybe he'll showcase his clinch control or his ability to take the back from scrambles. The longer this fight goes, the more layers Umar can reveal. And if he makes it look effortless, if he dominates a fighter like Bautista without breaking a sweat, that's when the rest of the division should start panicking, because it means the gap between Umar and the rest isn't closing, it's growing. But let's not ignore the flip side. If Mario Bautista can make this fight competitive, even slightly, that's a win in itself. If he can stuff a few takedowns, land a clean counter or two, and make Umar adjust, that will say a lot about his own evolution as a fighter. He doesn't need to win to gain respect. He just needs to survive, to show composure, and to make Umar think. A competitive three-rounder would instantly boost Bautista's reputation. Nobody's going to clown him for losing to Umar Nurmagomedov. That's expected. But if he drags it out, makes it gritty, forces Umar into real exchanges, he walks out of that cage as one of the most respected unranked contenders in the game. At the end of the day, this fight functions as a measuring stick for both men. For Umar, it's about proving that he's not just elite, he's inevitable. For Bautista, it's about proving that he belongs in the same conversation as the best in the division. And for the fans, it's about seeing what the next generation of bantamweights really looks like. Because we're watching a shift happen in real time, the evolution of a division that might be the most competitive in the entire UFC. If Umar walks through Bautista with ease, if he dominates every minute, mixes in takedowns, controls the cage, and lands clean strikes, then there's no argument left. He deserves to be back in the title conversation immediately. Maybe even a rematch with Merab Dvalishvili, or a fight with Corey Sandhagen or Sean O'Malley to set up that inevitable title run. He's too good to be sitting outside the main spotlight for long. But if Bautista surprises everyone, if he makes this ugly, if he forces scrambles and keeps it competitive, that's when things get interesting. Because then we get to see Umar under pressure, something we haven't seen often. We'll learn if he can stay composed when things don't go his way. That's the real test of greatness. Not domination, but composure under chaos. So when the cage door closes, it's not just two fighters stepping in. It's two different schools of MMA colliding. One represents the old formula, volume, pressure, pace. The other, the new generation, efficiency, precision, control. And somewhere in that collision lies the future of the bantamweight division. My final call? Umar Nurmagomedov by decision. Clean, dominant, composed. Maybe not a finish, Bautista's too durable for that, but a masterclass in control. Still, no matter what happens, this fight is going to be one of those performances we look back on as a turning point. The calm before the storm that leads Umar straight towards the title picture. So buckle up, this isn't just a fight, it's a glimpse into the future of mixed martial arts.